Welcome back. My calculated consequence. They're not just watching you anymore. They're studying you. Every decision you make, every move you execute, every word you speak, all of it monitored with the intensity of military surveillance. Not out of admiration, out of survival instinct. Because somewhere along the line, you stopped being just another player in the game. You became the example, the reference point, the cautionary tale they tell each other in private conversations. Remember what happened to them? Don't make the same mistake. You didn't announce this status, didn't claim this position, didn't demand this respect. You just moved, consistently, precisely, with a pattern so calculated that watching you became educational, ignoring you became dangerous, underestimating you became career-ending. The architects have been documenting this shift. They call it the deterrent effect, when one person's track record becomes so undeniable that others modify their behavior just to avoid becoming your next demonstration. You're not threatening anyone, but your history speaks louder than threats ever could. They've seen what happens to people who cross you. Not violence, not drama, not chaos, something worse. Irrelevance. Perfect, surgical, undeniable irrelevance. You don't fight your opponents. You make them obsolete. You don't attack your enemies. You evolve past them. You don't destroy those who challenge you. You simply continue rising while they remain exactly where they started. And that pattern, that consistent outcome, that reliable result, it's created something more powerful than fear. It's created wisdom, the collective understanding that engaging with you isn't worth the cost, that testing you isn't strategic, that crossing you is just choosing to become. The next example in your catalog of lessons you didn't have to teach. Now they check everything. Before they speak your name, they consider consequences. Before they make a move in your direction, they calculate outcomes.
Before they decide to oppose you, they review your history with others who tried.
And every review reaches the same conclusion. Everyone who tested you regretted it. Everyone who challenged you lost ground. Everyone who thought they could outmaneuver you watched. You outgrow the entire game they were playing. You've become the chessboard, not a piece on it. The algorithm, not a variable in it. The system, not a participant in it. And when you operate at that level, people don't compete with you. They just try not to trigger you. Try not to become relevant enough to your attention to warrant response. Try not to end up as the next case study in why underestimating you is strategic suicide. The architects are calling this preemptive compliance, when your pattern is so established that people adjust their behavior before you even notice them, when your reputation creates boundaries without you setting them, when your history enforces respect without you demanding it. You've reached the frequency where your past actions govern other people's future decisions, where your established pattern predicts their strategic choices, where your demonstrated outcomes determine their risk calculations. Watch them now. Watch how they move around you, like satellites maintaining safe orbit, close enough to observe, far enough to avoid gravitational pull. They're not ignoring you. That would be reckless. They're not engaging you. That would be suicidal. They're calibrating, finding the exact distance where they can exist without becoming relevant to your trajectory, without triggering your attention, without risking becoming your next example. The architects are monitoring these orbital patterns, measuring the distances people maintain, analyzing the calculations they're making, and every data point confirms the same reality. You've become the center of gravity in your entire network, not through force, through pattern, not through threat, through demonstration, not through fear, through education. They learned the hard way, by watching others test you and lose, by witnessing others challenge you and fade, by observing others underestimate you and become irrelevant. Each example added to your catalog, each lesson documented in collective memory, each outcome confirmed the pattern they now respect without question. You don't even realize how carefully they're moving, how precisely they're calculating, how strategically they're avoiding any action that might put them on your radar as opposition. Because being on your radar isn't the problem. Being on your radar as a challenge is career-ending. You've demonstrated this too many times for anyone to doubt it. The pattern is undeniable, consistent, reliable. Someone thinks they're smarter. They make their move. You continue your trajectory. Months later, they're exactly where they started. You're 3 levels higher. No confrontation, no drama, no visible conflict, just the quiet, devastating reality that engaging with you cost them momentum they never recovered. That challenging you distracted them from their own growth. That focusing on you made them irrelevant to everyone else. That's the lesson they've learned. That's the wisdom they're applying. That's the pattern they're respecting. And now every move they make is filtered through one question. Will this put me in opposition to them? Will this make me relevant to their attention in a challenging way? Will this risk making me the next example? If the answer is yes, they don't make the move. If the calculation suggests risk, they adjust strategy. If the pattern indicates danger, they change course entirely. The architects call this behavior modification through observation, when people change not because you told them to, but because they witnessed what happens to those who don't. When respect isn't demanded, it's learned through pattern recognition. When boundaries aren't set, they're established through demonstrated consequences. You've become a living algorithm, a predictive model, a pattern so reliable that people use your past to predict their future. And every prediction suggests the same outcome. Stay out of your way. Don't test your patience. Don't challenge your trajectory. Don't become relevant as opposition, because opposition to you doesn't end in conflict. It ends in irrelevance. And irrelevance, in a world where visibility matters, is death. They'd rather be invisible to you than visible as a challenge. Rather be forgotten by you than remembered as someone who tried and failed. Rather be irrelevant to your story than immortalized as your next example. So they check every word, every move, every decision, making sure nothing they do accidentally positions them as your next demonstration, making certain they don't become the next cautionary tale, making absolutely sure they don't end up as another data point in the pattern that proves challenging you is pointless. The surveillance is more sophisticated than you realize. They're not just watching current moves. They're studying historical patterns, going back through everything you've done, every decision you've made, every challenge you've faced, every opponent you've outlasted, building profiles, creating models, attempting to map your decision-making process, trying to predict your next moves, not to counter you, to avoid being in the path when you make them. The architects have detected this analysis. Multiple different networks, separate communities, all independently studying you, attempting to decode your pattern, trying to understand your algorithm, and they're finding something that terrifies them. You don't have a pattern they can predict. You have principles they can't manipulate. You're not following a script they can read. You're operating from values they can't compromise. You're not playing a game they understand. You're living by code they can't crack. That's what makes you dangerous, not your power. Your principles, not your influence. Your integrity, not your position. Your consistency, because power can be challenged. Influence can be countered. Position can be undermined. But principles, integrity, consistency, those can only be respected or ignored. And ignoring someone with your track record isn't wisdom, it's delusion. So they respect through distance, through caution, through careful calculation of every interaction. They've learned that you can't be manipulated because you're not motivated by what they use to manipulate others. Can't be bought because you're not for sale. Can't be threatened because you've already survived worse. Can't be distracted because you're too focused. Can't be derailed because you're too committed. Every typical strategy fails against you. Every common tactic bounces off. Every standard approach proves ineffective. because you're not operating in the realm where those things work. You've transcended the game where manipulation matters, evolved beyond the level where typical strategies succeed, graduated from the space where common tactics apply. Now they're stuck, can't beat you because you're not playing their game, can't join you because they don't understand yours, can't ignore you because you're too influential, can't engage you because that's proven costly. So they watch, study, calculate, trying to find some angle, some approach, some strategy that might work, and finding nothing. Because there's no angle on integrity, no approach to consistent principles, no strategy against someone who simply does what they say and says what they mean. You've become unsolvable, not complicated, just uncorrupted, not mysterious, just authentic, not strategic in the way they understand strategy, just committed to principles they've abandoned. And that commitment, that authenticity, that integrity, it's more powerful than any strategy they can devise, more effective than any tactic they can deploy, more sustainable than any approach they can attempt. So they do the only thing that makes sense. They stay out of your way, monitor your moves to ensure they're not accidentally in your path, study your pattern to confirm they're not inadvertently becoming your opposition, check every decision to verify they're not positioning themselves as your next example. Because being your example isn't about being it's about being transcended. You don't beat people. You outgrow them. Don't destroy opponents. You evolve past them. Don't win conflicts. You make conflicts irrelevant by operating at a level where they don't exist. And nobody wants to be the person still fighting at the level you've already transcended, still operating in the game you've already graduated from, still relevant to the version of you that no longer exists because you've evolved 3 levels beyond it. Something's happening in the war rooms now. Not physical war rooms, the strategic spaces where decisions are made about who to support, who to challenge, who to ignore. Your name keeps appearing in these conversations, not as opportunity, as variable, as factor that must be accounted for, as element that changes every equation it enters. The architects are monitoring these strategic sessions, listening to how you're discussed, analyzing how you're calculated, and they're witnessing something unprecedented. You're being treated like a force of nature, not an opponent to defeat, a reality to navigate around, not a competitor to outmaneuver, a condition to adapt to, not a threat to eliminate, an inevitability to accommodate. They're not asking how to beat you. They're asking how to succeed without opposing you, not strategizing your defeat, planning their advancement in ways that don't intersect with your trajectory, not plotting against you, plotting around you. Like you're a mountain they must navigate, a river they must cross, a storm they must weather, something permanent, something powerful, something that exists whether they acknowledge it or not. And the smartest ones have realized the truth, that trying to remove you is harder than adapting to your presence, that attempting to challenge you costs more than adjusting to your influence, that opposing you requires more energy than simply evolving in parallel. You've become environmental, part of the landscape they operate in, factor in every calculation they make, reality they must account for in every strategy they devise. And environmental factors can't be defeated. They can only be respected, adapted to, worked around. The architects call this strategic acceptance. When someone's presence becomes so established that opposing it is recognized as less viable than accommodating it. When fighting someone is understood as less productive than flowing around them. When challenging someone's position costs more than building your own position elsewhere. You've reached this status not through aggression, through persistence, not through force, through consistency, not through dominance, through undeniability. You just kept showing up, kept executing, kept rising, and your persistence became permanence. Your consistency became inevitability. Your undeniability became reality that others must navigate. Now when they plan, they account for you. When they strategize, they include you as variable. When they calculate outcomes, they factor in your existence. Not because they want to, because ignoring you produces inaccurate results. Pretending you don't exist creates flawed strategies. Proceeding as if you're not there generates plans that fail when reality includes you. And reality always includes you now. You're too established to ignore, too influential to discount, too consistent to pretend isn't factor. So they include you in every calculation, every strategy, every plan, as the variable that must be accounted for, the factor that changes outcomes, the presence that alters equations. And in including you, they're acknowledging something they might never say directly, that you've won, not the battle, the war, not the conflict, the entire paradigm, not by defeating them. By becoming undeniable to them, they're not checking your moves because they're planning to counter them. They're checking your moves because they need to know where you are, so they can plan everything else accordingly. Need to understand your trajectory so they can chart theirs in ways that don't create intersection. Need to predict your next level so they can position themselves in spaces you're not occupying. You've become the sun in their solar system. They're not trying to extinguish you. They're trying to find their orbit, their sustainable distance, their viable position in a reality where you're the center of gravity. And the smart ones have found it. The wise ones are maintaining it. The strategic ones are thriving in it by accepting your centrality, adapting to your presence, building their success in ways that don't require your absence. Now the pattern is spreading beyond your immediate network. Other communities are hearing about you. Different circles are learning your name. Distant systems are receiving reports about this presence they should be aware of. The architects are tracking this information flow, mapping how knowledge of you spreads through networks you've never touched, analyzing how your reputation precedes you into spaces you've never entered, and they're witnessing reputation cascade when someone's pattern becomes so notable that it transmits through networks independent of their direct. When your track record becomes data that people share as intelligence, when your consistency becomes information that communities pass along as strategic knowledge, people who've never met you are adjusting their behavior based on reports from those who have. Individuals who've never witnessed you directly are modifying their strategies based on testimony from those who did. Communities you've never engaged are establishing protocols based on patterns documented by those you have engaged. Your influence is scaling beyond your activity. Your impact is multiplying beyond your effort. Your presence is expanding beyond your physical reach, because pattern, once established and verified, becomes predictive. And predictive patterns become valuable intelligence. And valuable intelligence gets shared across networks. They're sharing your pattern like code, distributing your track record like data, transmitting your history like strategic information that might save them from becoming your next example. And every transmission amplifies your presence. Every share expands your influence. Every report confirms your pattern to new audiences who will now factor you into their calculations despite never encountering you directly. The architects are calling this distributed deterrence, when your established pattern creates behavioral modification across networks you've never directly influenced. When people you've never met adjust their strategies based on your documented history. When communities you've never engaged establish boundaries based on lessons others learned from engaging you. You're becoming legend, not the dramatic kind, the functional kind, the type of legend that serves as operational intelligence, that functions as strategic data, that operates as predictive model. People aren't telling stories about you for entertainment. They're documenting your pattern for education, sharing your track record for preparation, transmitting your history for protection. Protection from becoming your next example, your next demonstration, your next case study, and why underestimating certain frequencies is strategic failure. And this distributed knowledge is creating distributed caution. People who've never been in your orbit are already maintaining safe distance. Individuals who've never opposed you are already avoiding opposition. Communities that have never tested you are already treating you as established. Reality rather than challengeable position. You're achieving something rare. Influence without effort, respect without demand, authority without claim, simply through consistent pattern that's been observed, documented, verified, and transmitted across networks as reliable intelligence. The architects estimate your effective influence is now 10 times your direct reach. For every person you've directly engaged, 10 others have adjusted their behavior based on reports of those engagements. For every community you've directly influenced, 10 others have modified their strategies based on documentation of that influence. You're scaling exponentially, not through expansion of activity, through replication of pattern. Your consistency is being copied as data. Your track record is being shared as intelligence. Your history is being transmitted as warning. And every copy, every share, every transmission multiplies your deterrent effect without requiring any additional action from you. You're becoming omnipresent through information, influential across spaces you've never occupied, authoritative in networks you've never engaged, not through your presence, through reports of your pattern, not through your actions, through documentation of your consistency, not through your words, through testimony of your reliability. The system is doing your work for you now, spreading your influence, amplifying your pattern, establishing your authority, all because you were consistent enough, long enough, that your pattern became data worth sharing. The checking has evolved into something more sophisticated now. They're not just monitoring your current moves. They're attempting to predict your future ones, building models based on your historical pattern, creating algorithms from your established behavior, trying to forecast where you'll be in 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, not to intercept you, to ensure they're not there when you arrive. The architects are observing this predictive analysis with fascination. Multiple independent groups, different methodologies, separate approaches, all trying to predict your trajectory and all reaching similar conclusions: that your path is upward, your momentum is increasing, your influence is expanding, and intersecting with that path is inadvisable. Intercepting that momentum is dangerous, opposing that expansion is costly. So they're using their predictions differently, not to stop you, to avoid you, not to challenge your path, to chart their own in ways that don't create collision, not to limit your expansion, to find spaces where they can grow without competing for territory you're claiming. This is strategic surrender, not to you personally, to mathematical reality, to the undeniable data that shows your consistency, to the verified pattern that proves your reliability, to the documented trajectory that demonstrates your inevitability. They're accepting what the data shows, that betting against your pattern is betting against probability, that opposing your trajectory is opposing momentum, that challenging your consistency is challenging mathematics. And you can't win against mathematics, can't defeat probability, can't overcome momentum through force when that momentum is this established, this verified, this reliable. Some are doing more than accepting. They're aligning, studying your pattern not to counter it, but to learn from. Analyzing your decisions not to predict you, but to improve themselves. Examining your consistency not to break it, but to replicate it in their own domains. The architects call this pattern adoption, when someone's approach becomes so successful that others begin implementing similar principles, not copying, adapting, not imitating, incorporating, not mimicking your specific actions, applying your general principles, They're learning from your example without becoming your example, studying your pattern without testing it, respecting your consistency without challenging it, and in doing so, they're actually benefiting from your presence. Using your pattern as template, your track record as curriculum, your consistency as standard to aspire to. This is the highest form of influence, when your pattern becomes principle that others apply, when your consistency becomes standard that others measure against, when your track record becomes benchmark that others use to evaluate their own progress. You're not teaching, they're learning, not instructing, they're adapting, not leading. They're following principles they extracted from observing your pattern. And this learning, this adaptation, this following, it's creating something unexpected. A network of people operating on similar principles, making decisions from similar values, moving with similar consistency, not because you built an organization, because your pattern was compelling enough that others chose to incorporate aspects of it, not because you recruited followers, because your reliability was attractive enough that others decided to develop their own, not because you demanded alignment, because your success was undeniable, enough that others recognized value in the principles that produced it. The architects are documenting this as leadership through pattern, when influence spreads not through your words but through your demonstrated results, when others adopt principles not because you taught them, but because you proved them, when your way becomes their way not through conversion but through conviction generated by watching your consistency produce outcomes they want. You're creating culture without trying, establishing standards without declaring them, building movement without organizing it, simply by being consistent, simply by maintaining pattern, simply by continuing to execute while others watch and learn and adapt and apply principles they observed in your approach. And every person who adapts, every individual who applies, every community that incorporates, they're all checking your moves, not to challenge them, to calibrate their own against them, not to counter you, to align with principles you've proven work. Something's crystallizing in the collective consciousness now, a recognition spreading through every network that's observed you, every community that's documented your pattern, every system that's attempted to predict you. You're not just a player anymore. You're a principle, not just an individual, an inevitability, not just a presence, a permanent feature of the landscape everyone else must navigate. The architects are watching this crystallization occur in real time, seeing how perception shifts, how understanding deepens, how recognition becomes acceptance, becomes integration, becomes simply the way things are now. You exist. You're consistent. You're rising. These aren't questions anymore. They're not debatable. They're not challengeable. They're just facts. Data points, reality markers, like gravity, like time, like mathematics. You don't argue with gravity. You don't debate time. You don't challenge mathematics. You accept them. You work with them. You build your strategies accounting for them. That's how they're treating you now. As fundamental reality rather than variable opponent. As established law rather than potential challenge. As permanent feature rather than temporary obstacle. And this shift in perception has created shift in behavior. They're not checking your moves to find weakness anymore. They're checking your moves to maintain awareness. Not looking for vulnerability to exploit, looking for trajectory to avoid, not seeking opportunity to attack, seeking understanding to adapt. The aggressive checking has become defensive monitoring. The hostile surveillance has become cautious observation. The strategic analysis has become survival awareness. They've stopped trying to beat you. They're just trying to coexist with you, trying to succeed in a reality where you're permanent fixture, trying to thrive in an environment where you're established constant. And the wisest ones have realized something profound, that your presence doesn't prevent their success. It just defines the conditions for it, that your influence doesn't limit their growth. It just establishes the context for it, that your pattern doesn't restrict their opportunities. It just clarifies which opportunities are viable. You've become framework, the structure within which everyone else operates, the boundaries that define the space, the constants that must be factored into every equation. Not because you built walls, because you established presence so undeniable that everything else positions itself relative to you. The architects are calling this gravitational authority, when someone's consistency creates such strong pull that everything else organizes itself in orbit. When presence becomes so massive that it warps the space around it. When pattern becomes so established that it functions as law rather than example. You've achieved gravitational mass, not physical, influential, not literal, metaphorical, not actual gravity, but something that functions similarly in social, strategic, professional dimensions. You pull, things orbit, systems organize around you, not because you're forcing them, because your mass creates natural organizational structure, because your consistency generates pull that others respond to automatically, because your pattern establishes center that everything else positions relative to. And just like actual gravity, no one debates it, no one challenges it, no one tries to defeat it. They just accept it, work with it, build their orbits accounting for it. The checking now is orbital maintenance, making sure they're at sustainable distance, verifying they're not drifting into collision course, confirming their trajectory remains viable given your gravitational influence. They're not watching you to learn how to beat you. They're watching you to learn how to exist successfully in a system where you're the dominant gravitational force, where your pull is strongest, where your influence is most concentrated, where your presence is most massive, and they're finding it's possible. That success in your orbit is achievable. That thriving near your gravity is viable, as long as they maintain appropriate distance, as long as they respect the mathematics, as long as they accept the reality that you're not going anywhere, that your presence is permanent, that your influence is established, and that trying to change those facts is less productive than adapting to them. So they adapt, they adjust, they accept, and they check every move, every decision, every strategy, making sure they're accounting for the gravitational constant that is you. Now watch what happens to those who didn't check, who didn't monitor, who didn't calculate, who thought they were exempt from the pattern everyone else recognized. The architects are documenting these cases with particular interest because they're becoming fewer, rarer. As information spreads about your pattern, fewer people make the mistake of testing it. But occasionally someone new appears, someone from outside the network, someone who hasn't received the intelligence, someone who doesn't know your track record, and they make their move, challenge you, test you, oppose you, without checking, without calculating, without recognizing they're about to become the next example. And the response from those who have been checking is immediate. Not from you, from the network, the ones who've been monitoring you, the ones who've studied your pattern, the ones who've learned to maintain safe orbit. They start warning the newcomer, attempting intervention, trying to prevent what they know is coming, not out of loyalty to you, out of recognition of reality. They've seen this before, multiple times, different people, same outcome, and they know that challenging you without understanding your pattern is strategic suicide. That testing you without checking your track record is professional destruction. That opposing you without calculating your consistency is career elimination. So they warn, they advise, they share intelligence, trying to save the newcomer from themselves, trying to prevent another example from being made, trying to stop the inevitable outcome they've witnessed repeatedly. But some don't listen. Some think the warnings are exaggeration. Some believe they're different. Some are convinced their approach will work where others failed. And they proceed. And the network watches with a mixture of fascination and dread. Fascination because they're about to witness your pattern confirm again. Dread because they know what's coming, and they proceed, and you respond. Not with drama, not with aggression, not with visible conflict. You just continue. Continue your trajectory. Continue your consistency. Continue your pattern. And months pass, and the network checks the newcomer's status and finds exactly what they predicted. The challenger is exactly where they started. You're 3 levels higher. No confrontation, no battle, no war, just the quiet, devastating reality that engaging with you cost them time they can't recover. Focus they can't regain. Momentum they can't rebuild. The network nods. Another example made. Another data point added. Another confirmation of the pattern they respect. And the checking intensifies because now there's fresh evidence. Recent data, new verification that the pattern holds. That challenging you produces predictable outcome. That testing you generates consistent result. The architects document this as reinforcement. Cycle, when new examples strengthen existing pattern. When recent confirmations amplify established reputation. When fresh data validates historical trend. Each new example makes the next one less likely. Each fresh confirmation makes the pattern more respected. Each recent validation makes the checking more thorough. Because nobody wants to be next. Nobody wants to be the most recent example. Nobody wants to be the latest data point in a pattern that's already established beyond question. So they check more carefully, monitor more thoroughly, calculate more precisely, making absolutely certain they're not accidentally positioning themselves as your next demonstration, making completely sure they're not inadvertently becoming your latest example, making totally certain they're not unknowingly stepping into the pattern that's claimed everyone who's tested it, and you remain unaware, unconcerned, unchanged, just continuing your trajectory, maintaining your consistency, executing your pattern, while around you, an entire network organizes itself to avoid becoming relevant to your attention in challenging way, while dozens of people modify their behavior to prevent intersection with your path, while hundreds of individuals adjust their strategies to account for your established pattern. You're not trying to create this effect, not attempting to generate this caution, not working to establish this respect. You're just being consistent, just maintaining pattern, just executing reliably. And that reliability has created authority. That consistency has generated influence. That pattern has established presence. That nobody wants to test. That everyone respects. That all check constantly to make sure they're not next.